The mate auction was where damaged goods were sold to men who asked no questions. And as Tamsin stood among the barren widows and disgraced daughters, she prayed the suppressant herbs would hold for just one more night. One more night. Then she would belong to some minor lord who would never look twice at her, never notice when the trembling started, and never recognize the first heat that was already building like wildfire beneath her skin. She had hidden what she was for 19 years. She only needed to hide it for a few more hours, but the whispers in the crowd told her something had gone wrong. "The Alpha King!" someone gasped. "Why would he come here?" Tamsin did not dare look up. She felt his presence before she saw him, a dominance so absolute it pressed against her chest like a physical weight. Footsteps approached, stopped directly in front of her. "This one," he said. The hall erupted, but Tamsin could not hear them over the roaring in her blood, over the heat clawing its way to the surface, demanding to be known. That night, when her body betrayed her completely, when she burned with a need she could not hide or control, the Alpha King leaned close and whispered words that would change everything. No one must know about tonight. He was offering her a secret. She did not yet understand what it would cost them both. The great hall of Valdris had witnessed coronations, treaties, and royal weddings. Tonight it witnessed something far less noble. The mate auction drew the desperate and the discarded, wolves whose circumstances had made them unmarketable through traditional means, too old, too scarred, too ruined by scandal. They stood on a raised platform at the center of the hall, and Tamsin stood among them with her head bowed and her hands trembling beneath the sleeves of her worn dress. She was none of those things, not old, not scarred, not ruined by scandal. But she was something far worse in the eyes of Valdrian law, something that would see her dragged to the Omega kennels and bred like livestock if anyone discovered the truth. The suppressant tea was wearing off. She could feel it in the flush creeping up her neck, in the heightened awareness of every alpha in the room. She had taken triple the usual dose this morning. It should have been enough. It was not enough. Her father stood near the edge of the platform speaking with a minor lord. Lord Emmerich did not look at her, had not looked at her in years except with thinly veiled disgust. Tamsin remembered the day he discovered what she was. She had been 14, huddled in her room as the first warning signs of presentation began. Her mother had recognized it immediately. Her mother had also been an Omega, had also hidden it until marriage made hiding impossible. And when Lord Emmerich learned he had been tricked into mating a creature he considered barely more than an animal, he had sent Tamsin's mother away. Tamsin never saw her again. The binding had come 3 days later. A black market witch with cold hands and a colder smile. She had sealed Tamsin's Omega nature beneath layers of suppressive magic. But magic frayed, spells weakened. And now, at 19, Tamsin could feel the binding crumbling like old rope. But before the binding, there had been the fire. It had erupted the same night her Omega nature first surfaced. Uncontrolled. Unintended. A servant had discovered her in the throes of her first symptoms and had tried to drag her to her father. Tamsin remembered the terror, the surge of something hot and wild in her blood, and then flames bursting from her hands. The servant had survived, but the burns had been severe. Her father had blamed Tamsin publicly, called her dangerous, and called her a monster who had attacked an innocent man in cold blood. No one believed it was an accident. No one believed she had not meant to hurt him. And when the binding came, it was presented as mercy rather than punishment, a way to contain the dangerous creature Lord Emmerich's shameful daughter had become. Now her heat was coming, days away, perhaps hours. And if she was not mated to some oblivious beta lord before it broke through, her father would have no choice but to turn her over to the Crown's Omega registry. The auction was her only chance. Tamsin of House Varen, the auctioneer called, 19 years, unbred, beta confirmed by house physician, suitable for a second marriage or minor household. No one stepped forward. Tamsin kept her eyes on the floor. She could feel the alphas in the crowd assessing her, their gazes sliding past without interest. She was plain by noble standards. Brown hair without the fashionable golden tones, a face that was pleasant, but not remarkable. She was forgettable, and she had cultivated that forgettability like a weapon. But beneath her skin, something was waking up. The great doors burst open. Every head turned. Every conversation died. And even Tamsin, who had promised herself she would not look up, raised her eyes. The Alpha King of Valdris stood in the doorway. Corvin. Even his name was spoken like a prayer or a curse. He was tall in the way mountains were tall. Dark hair fell past his shoulders, and his face was the kind of beautiful that belonged on statues. Sharp jaw, sharper cheekbones, eyes the color of a winter storm, gray and cold and utterly unreadable. But it was not his beauty that made the crowd shrink back. It was his presence. His dominance rolled through the hall like a wave, a physical force that demanded submission. Tamsin felt her knees weaken, felt something deep inside her lift its head and take notice. No, not him. Anyone but him. The Alpha King walked toward the platform. His expression revealed nothing as his gaze swept across the women. His eyes stopped on her. Tamsin's breath faltered. She told herself to look away, but something held her frozen, pinned by those winter eyes like a rabbit before a wolf. He stopped directly in front of her. "This one," the Alpha King said. The words fell into silence like stones into still water. "Your Majesty," the auctioneer sputtered, "this is merely a beta daughter of a minor house, surely one of the higher-born candidates." "Did I ask for your opinion?" The king's voice was quiet, but it carried absolute authority. "No, your Majesty. The bid is yours. The woman is yours." Tamsin could not move, could not breathe, could not understand why the most powerful alpha in the kingdom had just claimed her. Unless he knew. The Alpha King leaned closer, and his breath was cool against her ear. "You will come with me now," he murmured, "and you will tell no one what I am about to tell you." Tamsin's pulse spiked. "I know exactly what you are," he continued, "and if you want to survive the night, you will do precisely as I say." The carriage moved through streets that grew increasingly grand, climbing toward the palace. Tamsin sat rigid on the velvet seat. Across from her, the Alpha King watched her with those unreadable eyes. He knew. He had said it plainly. So why was she still alive? "You are wondering why I have not turned you over to the registry," King Corvin said. "Yes, your Majesty. Because I have need of you. Not your womb. Not your heats. I have need of what you represent." "I do not understand." "No, I do not expect you to. Not yet." The carriage jolted, and Tamsin gripped the seat. The movement brought her closer to him, close enough to catch another wave of his scent. Pine forests after rain, cold mountain air. Something darker beneath that made the heat in her blood surge dangerously. "How long?" the king asked. "Your Majesty?" "Until your heat breaks through. The binding is old magic, poorly done. I can smell it fraying." She stared at him. No alpha should have been able to detect a binding spell through scent alone. "I do not know," she admitted. "Days, perhaps. Hours. Hours. Then we have little time." He turned toward the window. "When we arrive at the palace, you will be taken to chambers prepared for you. The servants who attend you are all betas. They will not scent what you are." "Your Majesty, why are you helping me? What do you want?" "I want a wife." The words hung between them. "A wife," Tamsin repeated. "You could have anyone. Why choose a hidden Omega days away from a heat that will expose her?" "Because they would expect something from me that I cannot give. They would expect a mate bond. They would expect my mark." For the first time, something flickered in those cold eyes. Pain, perhaps? They would expect heirs born of passion rather than arrangement. "And you cannot give those things?" "I cannot give those things and let them live." Tamsin felt the blood drain from her face, Every Omega who has bonded with a king of my bloodline has died, Corvin continued. My mother died 3 days after my birth, the bond having drained the life from her body. My grandmother lasted a week. It is a curse that has followed my line for 6 generations. The stronger the bond, the faster the death. That is why you never married. I had resigned myself to leaving no heir. Then I heard rumors of a minor lord's daughter who should have presented as Omega at 16 but never did. His gaze sharpened. I investigated. I discovered the binding. And I realized you might be exactly what I need. You want to marry me because I am broken. I want to marry you because we are both hiding something that would destroy us if discovered. He leaned forward. Become my queen in name. Give me the appearance of a normal marriage. In return, I will protect your secret with every resource at my disposal. You will never fear the Omega Registry. You will live in comfort and safety for the rest of your days. And if the binding fails, if my heat breaks through, then we will face that together. But no one can know. If the court discovers I have taken an Omega bride, they will demand the bond. And I will not watch another woman die because of what I am. The carriage stopped. Through the window, palace gates loomed. What is your answer? The king asked. Tamsin thought of her father, who would have sold her to the kennels without a second thought. She thought of her mother, whom she had never seen again. And she thought of this strange, cold, beautiful king who was offering her the one thing no one else ever had. A choice. Yes, she said. I accept your terms. The chambers they gave her were larger than her father's entire house. Tamsin stood in the center, taking in the vaulted ceilings, the vast bed, the windows overlooking palace gardens. Everything was decorated in deep blues and silvers, the colors of the royal house. The servants were exactly as the king had promised. All betas, all female, all moving with quiet efficiency. They bathed her, dressed her in silk, and brushed her hair until it gleamed. She barely slept that night. The binding pulsed against her bones, and beneath it, she could feel the heat building. The next morning, she was summoned to the council chamber. The room was intimidating. A long table of dark wood dominated the space, surrounded by lords and advisors. King Corvin sat at the head, beautiful in the way winter was beautiful. And at the far end of the table sat her father. Lady Tamsin, please sit, an older advisor said. Gray hair, thin smile that did not reach his eyes. This was Lord Aldrin, she would later learn. She took the chair near the king. The marriage contract has been prepared, Aldrin continued. His Majesty has specified certain unusual terms. Corvin picked up a document. The terms are straightforward. The marriage will be in name only. No mate bond required or expected. No physical claiming. The Queen's chambers will remain separate from the King's. He was protecting her. Even in the contract, he was building walls. These terms are acceptable to me, Tamsin said. You understand what you are agreeing to? Aldrin leaned forward. A marriage without bonding? A queenship without true mating? I understand. And this does not trouble you? Tamsin met his gaze evenly. What troubles me is impertinent questions about matters between me and my future husband. Silence fell. Aldrin's thin smile faltered. At the head of the table, Corvin made a sound that might have been suppressed amusement. The terms are agreed. We sign today, we wed tomorrow. Tomorrow? Another advisor spoke. The preparations alone will require everyone to work quickly. Unless anyone wishes to explain to neighboring kingdoms why Valdres still has no queen? No one spoke. I will give you privacy for the remainder, Corvin said to Tamsin, but be careful. Lord Aldrin is dangerous when thwarted. He left, and moments later, Sorsha swept in. Her sister was beautiful as always, golden hair and expensive perfume. She was looking at Tamsin with an expression hovering between disbelief and outrage. The Alpha King, Sorsha said. You are marrying the Alpha King. What are you hiding? The king chose me. I do not know why. You are lying. Sorsha's eyes searched her face. Something is wrong here, Tamsin. I am going to find out what. She turned toward the door. Sorsha, wait. The wedding is tomorrow. I will be there, smiling and supportive. But after that, I will learn the truth. She paused at the threshold. And I pray it is not as terrible as I fear. The door closed behind her. Tamsin stood alone, her skin flushed, the binding cracking with every passing hour. Tomorrow, she would be queen. Tonight, she was terrified she would not survive long enough to see it. The Cathedral of Valdres had stood for 500 years. Its stained glass windows cast colored light across nobles who had come from every corner of the realm. The Alpha King was taking a bride. Tamsin walked the long aisle alone, no father to give her away, though Lord Emmerich sat in the front pew with barely concealed fury. Sorsha sat beside him, her face a careful mask. But Tamsin could not think about them now, could barely think at all through the fog of heat building beneath her skin. The binding was failing faster than she had anticipated. The cathedral was full of alphas, their scents pressing against her, and her body was responding in ways she could not control. At the altar, watching her approach, stood Corvin. He was dressed in black. A crown of silver sat upon his dark hair. In the light from the windows, he looked less like a man and more like something from legend. Tamsin reached the altar. The priest began to speak, ancient words about bonds and duty, but she could barely hear them. She was going to break. Right here, in front of everyone. Then Corvin's hand found hers. The touch was cool, blessedly cool, like water on a fever. Tamsin gasped softly and some of the pressure eased. She looked up at him, startled. His thumb traced a small circle against her palm, soothing, grounding. And somehow, the heat receded just enough for her to breathe. Do you, Corvin, Alpha King of Valdres, take this woman as your mate, your queen, your bonded partner? I do. The priest turned to Tamsin. And do you, Tamsin of House Varen, take this man as your mate, your king, your bonded partner? I do. Then let the claiming be witnessed. Corvin released her hand and turned to face her fully. Every eye was fixed on them, waiting for the claiming bite. He leaned closer, close enough that his lips nearly brushed her ear. Your heat is breaking through, he murmured. When I kiss you, close your eyes and think of nothing. Let me shield you. Then he cupped her face and brought his mouth to hers. The kiss was gentle, controlled. But Tamsin felt something pass between them, something that flowed from him like cool water. The heat retreated, pushed back by whatever strange power he possessed. When he pulled away, her breathing had steadied. The crowd erupted in confused cheers. Where was the claiming bite? Where was the mark? The Queen and I have chosen a private claiming, Corvin announced. Our bond is our own. Whispers rippled through the cathedral. But no one dared question the Alpha King. As they walked back down the aisle, Tamsin heard the murmurs. No bite. No mark. Something is wrong. In the carriage, she finally spoke. What did you do? During the kiss, the heat pulled back. I told you the curse kills any Omega who bonds with my bloodline. I did not tell you why. His eyes met hers. My bloodline does not just form bonds. We consume them. Every alpha of my line carries a void that drains life force from anyone we claim. But the same power that takes can also give. I pushed some of my energy into you temporarily. You can do that? I can. But Tamsin, it is not a cure. Your heat will break through before morning. And if you bond with me in that state, if the heat drives you to accept my mark, you will die. The carriage stopped. The palace loomed. Then let us go face the night together, he said. The wedding chambers had been prepared with care. Candles flickered. Rose petals scattered across silk sheets. Everything arranged for romance. Everything was a lie. Tamsin stood in the center of the room, still wearing her wedding gown, trembling. The temporary relief Corvin had given her was fading. The heat was building again, stronger than before. Corvin locked the door behind them. The servants will check the sheets in the morning, he said. They will expect evidence of consummation. And if my heat breaks through while we are, then I will control myself. He turned to face her. I have spent my entire life learning to suppress the hunger. I will not claim you. No matter what your body begs for, I will not. Do you trust me? It was a strange question. She had known him for 2 days. But when Tamsin looked into those eyes, she found herself answering without hesitation. Yes. Something flickered across his features. Surprise, perhaps, or gratitude. He crossed the room to her. When he stopped before her, she could feel the strange, cool power radiating from him. I am going to undress you now. If at any point you wish me to stop, say the word. Tamsin nodded. His hands rose to the fastenings at the back of her gown. He moved with careful precision, never rushing. But even that clinical contact sent shivers down her spine. The gown pooled at her feet. She stood before him in nothing but the thin shift beneath. Corvin inhaled sharply. You are beautiful, he said. I chose you for strategy, not for this. But you are beautiful, Tamsin. No one had ever called her beautiful. Thank you, she whispered. He stepped back and began removing his own clothing. His chest was revealed in the candlelight, lean but powerfully built. And across his left side ran a network of silver scars that looked almost like frozen lightning. The curse marks its carriers, he said. Every king of my line has borne these since birth. Tamsin moved toward him, her hand pressed gently against the scarred flesh. Corvin went absolutely still. His skin was cool, but the scars themselves were ice cold, and beneath them, his heart beat slow and steady, far slower than it should. You really are cursed, she breathed. Did you doubt it? I did not want to believe it. He led her to the bed. The sheets were cool against her feverish skin. When the heat takes you, he said quietly, you will feel an overwhelming urge to submit, to beg for a claiming bite. I need you to fight those urges. And if I cannot, then I will restrain you. I will leave this room if I must. I will not mark you, Tamsin. The first wave hit without warning. Fire erupted through her veins. She arched off the bed with a cry she could not contain. Every nerve screamed for touch, for the claiming that would end this torment. Corvin, she gasped. He was there instantly, pulling her against his chest. The coolness of his skin provided some relief. Breathe through it, the first wave is the worst. She tried to obey, but the heat was everywhere. Her hips moved against him without permission. Slick soaked through her shift, the unmistakable scent of omega arousal filling the room. Corvin's arms tightened. She could feel the tension in his body, the iron control he was exerting. Please, she heard herself begging. I know what you need, but I cannot give it to you. Not that. Instead, he gave her what he could. His hands learned her curves, found places that made her gasp. When release finally came, she trembled in his arms. The heat receded slightly. That was one wave, Corvin said. There will be more. They survived the night together. Wave after wave crashed through her, and each time, Corvin was there. By dawn, Tamsin was exhausted beyond anything she had ever experienced. As the final wave subsided, he pressed a kiss to her forehead. You survived, he murmured. We both did. He was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, he said, I should not return to these chambers again. What happened tonight cannot become a pattern. For your sake. Despite her exhaustion, Tamsin felt something crack at the words. I understand, she whispered. But she did not understand at all. 3 days passed and the king did not come to her chambers. Tamsin threw herself into learning her new role. Protocols to memorize, nobles to meet, rituals that defined court life. She attended council meetings at Corvin's side, saying little but observing everything. Lord Aldrin watched her constantly. She could feel his cold gaze searching for weakness. Tamsin met his scrutiny with perfect composure. But at night, alone in chambers that still carried traces of their wedding night, she lay awake thinking of him. On the fourth day, Corvin summoned her to his study. He stood by the window when she entered, silhouetted against afternoon light. "Close the door," he said. She obeyed. "I have been avoiding you. I suspect you know why." "The wedding night. And every night since, when I have found myself standing outside your door, wanting nothing more than to open it." He turned, and the rawness in his expression made her throat tighten. "This was not supposed to happen. You were supposed to be a strategic choice. And instead? Instead, I cannot stop thinking about you." The words came rough, almost angry. "I have lived my entire life preparing to never care for anyone, and in 4 days, you have dismantled that completely." Her pulse quickened. "Corvin, do not tell me you feel the same. Do not give me hope where there can be none, because if this becomes something more, I do not know if I can trust myself not to claim you. What if there was another way? What if the curse could be broken? It cannot. Every king of my line has tried. My father spent his entire reign searching. He found nothing." Tamsin fell silent. "I should go," she said finally. Corvin caught her hand. "Stay. Not for what we cannot have. But stay and talk with me. Tell me something true." So she stayed. She told him things she had never told anyone, about her mother, about the binding, about the fire that had branded her dangerous when she was only 14 and terrified. And Corvin told her things in return, about his father's desperation, about wondering if his mother had been happy in the few days she lived as queen, about the suffocating loneliness of power. Night fell while they talked. Their hands found each other and held on. "This is dangerous," Corvin murmured. "Yes." "We should stop." "Yes." Neither moved. "Your heat will return in a month," he said. "I will need to be away when it happens." Tamsin nodded, though the thought of facing it alone made her chest tighten. "I understand that you are trying to protect me," she said softly. "And I understand that circumstances have made something simple into something impossible." Simple? Love should be simple. What complicates it is everything else. He raised their joined hands and kissed her knuckles. "The curse has a threshold," he said quietly. "Something I have not told anyone. It was not love that killed them." "Not exactly. The curse activates at the moment of true bonding, when two souls choose each other completely, without reservation. So as long as we always hold something back, we might survive this." It was not enough. But in that moment, it felt like more than she had ever hoped for. "Then we hold something back," she said, "and we pray. That is enough." But even as she spoke, Tamsin felt something shifting inside her. A power she did not understand, a connection she could not explain, and the terrifying certainty that holding back might be impossible. 2 months passed in strange twilight. Tamsin and Corvin learned to navigate the impossible space between duty and desire. They met in his study each evening, talking for hours. They attended council meetings side by side. They touched when protocol demanded, and each contact sent electricity through her. But they never kissed. The line remained unbroken. Her second heat came as predicted. Corvin retreated to a hunting lodge in the northern mountains. Tamsin survived it alone, attended only by beta maids, and the loneliness nearly destroyed her. When Corvin returned, she saw the same hollowness in his eyes. "This is not sustainable," she told him. "I know." The change came 3 weeks later on an ordinary morning. Tamsin woke feeling strange. Nausea churned her stomach. Her breasts ached with unfamiliar tenderness. Dizziness sent her stumbling back against the pillows. The royal physician examined her with cool efficiency. "Congratulations, Your Majesty. You are with child." The world stopped. Pregnant. But that was impossible. Corvin had never claimed her, never knotted her. But they had done other things during her first heat. Apparently, that had been enough. "How far along?" 8 weeks, perhaps 9. The timing matched her wedding night exactly. She found Corvin in the training yard, sparring with his guard captain. "Leave us," Tamsin commanded. The guards scattered. Corvin lowered his practice sword. "What is wrong?" "I am pregnant." The sword clattered to the ground. His face went through shock, joy, terror, despair. "No, we were careful." Apparently not careful enough. He was shaking. "My mother conceived me and the bond completed. The curse took her within days of my birth. Tamsin, if you carry this child, I know. We have to stop this. A healer. A witch." "No." The word came sharp. "This child is mine, ours. I will not destroy it to save myself." "Then you will die." His voice cracked. "Just like every woman foolish enough to love my bloodline." "Love." The word hung between them. "Is that what you think I am?" "Foolish." "I think you are the bravest person I have ever known." Tears streamed down his face. "And I think I love you so completely that it terrifies me. I love you too. I have loved you since the night you held me through my heat, and I will love you until my last breath." Corvin pulled her into his arms and kissed her with all the desperation they had denied themselves. The bond snapped into place. She felt it like a physical blow, their souls reaching for each other across heartbeats. Then Corvin screamed. He wrenched away, hands flying to his chest. The silver scars were spreading across his skin like frost. His face went white, his lips turning blue. "The curse!" he gasped. "It is not supposed to... I am not supposed to be the one." He collapsed. "Corvin!" Tamsin dropped to her knees. His skin was ice cold and the silver was still spreading, up his neck, across his jaw. "Help!" she screamed. "The king is dying?" The curse was not taking her life, it was taking his. The king's chambers became a sick room. Tamsin sat beside the bed where Corvin lay, his body covered in silver scars that pulsed with faint light. His breathing was shallow, his skin cold as marble. He had not opened his eyes in 3 days. The physicians had no explanation. The curse was supposed to drain the Omega, not the Alpha. Sorsha came on the 4th day. She pushed past guards until she stood at the foot of the bed. Her face was pale, her eyes red. "You love him," Sorsha said quietly. "That is what you were hiding." "My love is killing him." Sorsha sat beside her sister. For a long moment neither spoke. "Mother used to say things when we were children. Strange things about bloodlines and debts." Sorsha hesitated. "She said fire cannot be consumed by ice. The flame always finds a way to burn." Fire and ice. Tamsin thought of Corvin's cold skin, of her own heat. "What if I am the fire?" she whispered. "The curse consumes life force," she continued, mind racing. "But what if there was someone whose fire burned too hot to be frozen? Mother was Omega, hidden, like me. What if she knew something? What if there was a reason our bloodline carries this heat? Father sent her away for a reason. He knows more than he has told us. Father will not speak to you. Then I will make him speak. I am Queen of Valdris. I will burn down everything he holds dear to save my husband." She found Lord Aldrin first. The old advisor was in his chambers, surrounded by papers. Something flickered in his cold eyes when she entered. "How fares the king?" "You have been waiting for this. Waiting for the curse to take him so you could install your granddaughter." "I have no idea what you mean." "I think you do." She moved closer. "I think you knew what would happen if Corvin formed a true bond. The curse is ancient magic. I have no power over such things. But you have knowledge of them." She stopped before him. "The curse has always taken the queen. But this time the king is dying." "Why?" Surprise flickered across his face, quickly hidden. "You do not know," Tamsin realized. "You expected me to die." She left him in stunned silence. Her father proved more difficult. Lord Emmerich refused 3 summons. On the 4th, Tamsin sent armed guards with orders to drag him in chains if necessary. He arrived red-faced and furious. "I need you to release my bind," Tamsin said. "Now." "No. The Alpha King is dying. I need my magic to save him." "You are a dangerous creature," her father spat. "I will not unleash your magic on the world." "The witch powers came from you," Tamsin said. "Your grandmother was a witch. Your father had her killed when he discovered it, but she passed her magic down to you and to me." Silence crashed over the room. Sorsha had entered behind their father. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Mother never betrayed us?" "You have always known," Tamsin said to Emmerich. "Mother was innocent. You needed my powers bound, and so she had to go." "What was I supposed to do?" Emmerich demanded. "I needed your powers bound." "I was bound immediately after my magic manifested," Tamsin said slowly. "At 14. The day after the fire." Sorsha's voice shook. Then how could she have burned that servant so badly? If she was bound immediately after, how could she have lost control again? Unless... For just a moment, Emmerich looked uncertain. "You also have fire magic," Sorsha breathed. "It passed from grandmother to you to her. The servant who was burned, the one who supposedly caught Tamsin in her room that night. You were the one who hurt him. You framed her." "It was necessary," Emmerich snarled. "I needed a reason to bind her that no one would question. A dangerous Omega who attacked a servant? Everyone believed she needed to be contained." "You burned an innocent man and blamed your own daughter," Sorsha said, horror dawning. "You let everyone believe she was a monster." "She is a monster. She is the reason I had to hide what I was. She is the reason our bloodline's shame continues." Sorsha's fist connected with his nose. He stumbled backward, head hitting the mantel. He collapsed unconscious. Silence. "I need the seal," Tamsin said, "to break my bind and save Corvin." Sorsha ran from the room. She returned breathless, pressing a small carved box into Tamsin's hands. I will send for guards. Have father arrested. I will testify about everything." "Thank you. I am sorry for everything, for believing him." Tamsin kissed her sister's cheek. Then she rode for the burning temple. The burning temple took 3 days to reach. Tamsin rode through rain and darkness, stopping only when exhaustion threatened to topple her. The child in her belly was still too small to feel, but she sensed its presence constantly. The temple rose from the mountainside like a wound in stone, black rock and twisted spires. Approaching it made her skin crawl, but she did not stop. She found the central chamber at the temple's heart. It was vast, with a ceiling that vanished into shadow. At its center stood an altar of black stone, and on that altar lay a woman. "Mother?" The woman's eyes opened. She was older than Tamsin remembered, dark hair streaked with gray, face lined with years of solitude. But those eyes were the same, warm brown flecked with gold. "My daughter, I knew you would come." Tamsin crossed the chamber. Her mother was bound to the altar, silver chains around wrists and ankles. "Who did this to you?" "I did it to myself." Her mother smiled weakly. "This is how the curse is maintained. A flame-born must always be bound to the altar, channeling the spell's hunger into themselves. The original witch sacrificed herself to fuel it. When she finally died, another had to take her place." "You have been here for 5 years? Channeling the curse?" "Keeping it contained. The curse wants to complete itself, to destroy the king's bloodline entirely. By binding myself here, I redirect its hunger into me, keeping it from reaching full power. But I am weakening. Then I will free you. There is no other way. Unless a flameborn willingly bonds with the cursed bloodline, unless fire joins with ice of its own choosing." Tamsin understood. "That is why the curse is reversing. I bonded with Corvin." "You did more than bond. You carry his child, a child of both bloodlines who could either end the curse or complete it. How do I end it?" "You must choose freely and completely. Total acceptance. The original witch cast this curse in hatred. It can only be broken by the opposite, by love that holds nothing back. Corvin said complete acceptance would trigger the curse. For any other Omega, yes. But you are Flameborn. Your fire cannot be consumed. Your love cannot be drained. You are the key that was always meant to break this lock. Father knew. He was terrified of what you might become. Lord Aldrin? Tamsin realized. He knew about this place. Aldrin discovered me 3 years ago. He has been using my imprisonment, threatening to kill me if I did not feed information about the curse. He wanted the bloodline to end so he could install his own family. Rage erupted inside her. When the curse breaks, her mother said, the altar's power will fade. The chains will release. The temple will crumble. I will find my way home. Tamsin kissed her mother's forehead. Then she ran. The journey back took 2 days. She drove herself harder than ever, and with every mile she felt Corvin's life force fading. She burst into his chambers as the sun set. Corvin was worse. Silver covered his entire body. His breathing was barely visible. His lips were blue. Everyone out, Tamsin commanded. They fled. She climbed onto the bed, pressing her body against his frozen form. Corvin, I know you can hear me. I found my mother. She told me the truth. No response. I have to accept the bond completely. No holding back. I have to love you with everything I am and trust that my fire is strong enough. His eyelids flickered. I am terrified. I have spent my life hiding, building walls, and you are asking me to tear them down completely. She pressed her forehead to his. But I choose you, Corvin. I choose you with every part of me. I choose our child, our future, our kingdom. Heat erupted from deep inside her, not like her heats. This was something older, something primal, like the core of the sun awakening. The bond snapped fully open. Instead of her life draining away, she felt her fire pouring into him, melting the silver, burning through the ice. The curse screamed as it died, 500 years of hatred dissolving in the face of love freely given. Corvin's eyes flew open. They were no longer winter gray. They were gold, the same gold that flickered in her eyes at birth. Tamsin, he breathed. Then he was kissing her, and she was laughing, and the silver was receding from his skin like winter giving way to spring. How? He managed. Fire cannot be consumed by ice, my mother's words. Outside, the sun rose on a new day. 3 months later, Queen Tamsin stood before the assembled court and read the charges against Lord Aldrin. Treason, conspiracy, imprisonment of a noblewoman, manipulation of ancient magic for personal gain. Aldrin said nothing in his defense. There was nothing to say. I sentence you to death, Tamsin concluded. May the gods have mercy, for this court has none. Lord Emmerich faced his own trial 1 week later. The charges were equally damning: assault, false imprisonment, conspiracy to conceal Omega status for personal gain, the deliberate framing of his own daughter. He was stripped of his titles, his lands, and his freedom. He would spend the rest of his days in a cell, surrounded by the ashes of his ambition. Later that evening, Tamsin found Corvin in the nursery. He stood by the window, watching sunset paint the sky gold and crimson. His scars had faded to faint silver lines. His eyes were still gold, a permanent reminder of their bond. The council approved the new laws, she said, moving beside him. Omega registration is abolished. Forced bonding is now a capital crime. Because of you. He pulled her close. You changed everything. We changed everything. He turned her to face him, hands cradling her swollen belly. I spent my life believing I was a monster. That I was born to consume anyone who loved me. Then you proved the monster was the curse, not me. You were never a monster. You were a man bearing an impossible burden. And now it is gone. Because you burned it away. The baby arrived 4 months later. A girl with her father's dark hair and her mother's golden eyes. They named her Ember, and when she cried, tiny sparks danced at her fingertips. Tamsin's mother wept, holding her granddaughter for the first time. She had emerged from the crumbling temple just as Tamsin had promised, weak but alive, and had spent the months since recovering in the palace. Sorsha declared herself the best aunt in the kingdom and visited so often she practically lived in the nursery. The kingdom flourished. Tamsin brought compassion where Corvin brought strength. She advocated for Omegas who had been treated as property, built schools and sanctuaries, created a world where no one would ever have to hide. And every night, she fell asleep in the arms of the man she loved. "Do you remember what you said on our wedding night?" Corvin asked one evening, watching Ember sleep. "I said many things. Most were incoherent." He laughed softly. "You said love should be simple, that everything else complicates it." "I remember." "You were right. Loving you is the simplest thing I have ever done. The curse, the secrets, the fear, all complicated. But loving you? Natural as breathing." Tamsin smiled against his chest. "We saved each other. We broke a curse that enslaved my family for 500 years. We changed laws that oppressed your kind for generations. We created a child who carries the best of both bloodlines. And we found each other. Two people hiding fundamental truths, thrown together by circumstance, discovering that what we hid was exactly what the other needed." "No more hiding," Corvin said. "No more hiding." Outside, moonlight spilled across a kingdom transformed. Somewhere in the city, young Omegas slept without fear. In the eastern mountains, the ruins of the burning temple lay silent, its power spent at last. And in the tapestry of time, a 500-year-old curse finally found its end, not in hatred, in love freely given and wholly received. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share with others who might enjoy it too. Your support means everything. Until next time, may you find the courage to love without holding back, and may your fire always burn bright.